A 1, 2, ready, go. Hi guys. Just as a general comment, if you find my tempo in the demonstration video a little bit quick, you can always slow it down using the settings menu in your YouTube, the YouTube video settings, okay? And slow it down as slow as you need to. And some good ways to work with the video, at least the demonstration part of the video, is to work hands apart. If you're looking at working on a hands apart, you can use it to kind of spice that up and make it a little more exciting. So you can play with it at a slow speed, one hand only while I play the whole piece, okay? Or, yeah, left hand or the right hand, just to get used to the motions of the hands. I wouldn't try playing it together with me, hands together, until you really have a very firm command or grasp of this piece, okay? So only at the very, very end of the learning process, all right? Now, when you're learning this piece, the first thing you should look at is the key signature. And notice that we are in the key of G major. If you don't quite know the key of G major, please work on the scale and the arpeggio a little bit before you start this piece, all right? The key of G major has one sharp, and that sharp is F sharp. And that means every time you read an F or a Fa in this piece, it is this note, this black note right here, not this note, okay? The other thing to be aware of is there are very, primarily, although the right hand does do quite a lot of movement, it is primarily in the position G, although we do start in the position of D, all right, at the very beginning of the piece. But afterwards, most of the action happens here in position G, whereas in the left hand, most of your action will happen in position C, okay? There are some exceptions to that rule in line 3, all right? And then also in line 4. But just to be aware of that, okay? We will cover the specifics in the other parts of this video. Okay, let's start talking about the very beginning. So this is the very first 3 measures with the downbeat of measure 4, all right? Your left hand, as we mentioned before, starts in the position C, your right hand in position D. And they basically play the same fingering and the same notes, okay? But I want you to notice that you're starting at a piano, which means soft. All the notes are staccato except for the very last note we play, which is the downbeat of measure 4, okay? And there is a crescendo to that beat. So when you're practicing this, play short and quiet. Try to get a little bit louder and hit the downbeat of measure 4 with an accent and long, like this. 1, 2. Getting louder and long. All right, let's talk about the next section. This is the pickup to measure 5 onto the downbeat of measure 12, all right? And we're going to cover both hands in this short clip. Let's look at the left hand first. And we are always in our position C, okay? Now, it's actually quite easy. There is one moment where you have to extend your thumb one finger higher, all right? So instead of a G, you'll be playing an A, and that's in measure 7 and 8. So be careful in measure 7 and 8, all right? The rest of the time, you'll be playing in a closed hand position here and position C. So let's play this together very, very slowly, okay? So 1, 2, ready, go. And we're going to extend our thumb. And you're going to bring your thumb back. accent, long, short. All right, before we work on the right hand of the same passage, that's measure 5 to 12, we're going to cover the right hand at the very end of this piece, because there is one little bit at the very end of measure 11, which also happens at the very end of the piece, that we need to work on and get good at before we try to play it, all right? So if we're looking at the pickup to measure 19, all right, look what happens. I'm in position G, all right, and there's going to be a slight change here. I'm going to go and move my fourth finger to the A and then back to my thumb on G. Right? So you're playing the first 4 notes in position G, right? But afterwards, you have to play one step up on an A, but please don't play with your second finger, because you're going to move your fourth finger here and play the F sharp with your second finger, and then play the G again with your thumb. So you're back in position G. So we get back into position G, all right? So there's just a slight change of position at the end of the bar. We're going to change here and change back. Okay? Let's try it together. 1 and 2. Here's the change. Fourth finger, second finger, first finger, back on G. Okay? Now, at the end of the piece, we're going to do that same figure, all right? But you're going to have to play an octave for the last note. So it's with a little change here, thumb on G, octave, and a very loud G, and that's the very end of the piece. Now, when we're talking about going back and playing the exact same passage in measure 11, it's actually the same thing, except instead of the octave, you're just going to play a fifth and play your fifth finger on D to start the next section. So this is measure 11. No octave, a fifth. Okay? Those are the differences. All right, so let's practice measure 5 to the downbeat of 12. The pickup to 5 to the downbeat of 12. Okay, the right hand. Right? So here we go. We're going to go together. It's almost exclusively in G position. All right? And we have to do our little ending formula that we just practiced in the last clip at the end of this in measure 11. Okay? All right, so here we go. 1, 2, 1. And you're going to play long here, a slur, staccato, long, another slur, staccato. Now we're slurring, short, staccato. Here's our ending formula. Okay? Now, feel free to repeat that as many times as you need. All right? Okay, now it's time to put it together. Hands together, pick up to 5 to the downbeat of 12. All right? Now, we're going to combine all our elements. So you have to remember to move that thumb in your left hand in measure 7, okay? So be careful. So we always want to think ahead when we're playing. All right? The general note length is short. It's staccato, except when you see slur marking. So try to make the difference between the two. Or if you see a tenuto mark, which is that line below the notes, that means a long note, okay? So here we go. We're going to start with a little bit of slurring. 1, 2, go. We're going to move our left hand, thumb. And this is long. Move it back. Here's our ending formula in the right hand. Okay, that's it. Feel free to repeat that as many times as necessary. So now let's look at the hardest line of this piece, which is the third line, okay? And we'll look at the right hand first. Now the right hand, which is mostly, starts in position G, is going to be doing a lot of movement here. All right, so we're going to start in position G. Here it is. Pick up to 13. And we're going to be crossing our second finger to F sharp, and you're going to cross it back. Did you see what I did there? So we are crossing to the F sharp, G, F sharp, G, and we're going to cross it back and play G, A, G. And this motion, that motion is going to be repeated in 2 measures when we do the same thing from position A. All right, so get used to that feeling, okay? So the whole thing looks like this. 1, 2, go. Crossing the second finger, coming back, and then we're going to have a new position here, A, with that cross, and then we're going to stay in position A for the moment, crescendo, and we're going to hold that E out because of the fermata, all right, and after we're finished holding it, get back to position G and play our closing formula with the octave. Here we with the change of position and back to thumb, octave, like that. One thing I didn't mention, if you see in measure 17, it says ritardando, R-I-T. That means slow down. So we're going to slow down into that fermata, which means to hold the note a little longer than it was written for, okay? Looking at the left hand, okay? The left hand is what makes this difficult. Now, the left hand, you're starting in position C, sorry, and you're playing these, pick up to 13, this D, G, all right? And as the right hand plays its little melody here, we're going to cross our left hand over the right hand into position C and play the next bit, all right? And then you have to cross really quickly back to position C and play that D. And you're going to cross again, this time to position G on the left hand, okay? So left hand now plays in position G. All right, and as we are about to play again, you have to cross back really quickly, back to position C. And ritardando, crescendo, fermata, okay? Now the left hand has to get into position G to play the end, all right? Like that, okay? Let's try playing this very slowly together, okay? So 1, this is from measure, pick up to 13. 1, 2, 1. And cross that second finger. Crossing that left hand, cross it back. Crossing it. Cross back. Get louder. Fermata. Find position G in your left hand. Get the octave in there. Okay? All right. That's all the elements in this piece. As I mentioned before, you can use my demonstration video to practice hands apart. Once you've put all of these elements together, you can use it to try and play along with the video to make sure your rhythms are good, okay? Good luck, have fun, and we'll see you in the next video. That's it for this video. If you found this video helpful, please consider clicking on that like button and subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching.